Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves and Emmanuel Agbadou. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. Wolves have their first signing of 2025. Vitor Pereira has his first signing as Wolves head coach, and it was a much needed centre back. A defender was what was needed really since the summer. Wolves have said they plan to bring one in fairly sharpishly, and we do have one before the second game in January, before this game against Bristol City. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and a little bit of news around this signing as well. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Before we get into it though, a big shout out to our channel partners over at Stocks FC who are partnering with us for our transfer content this January. It's a stock market for buying and selling football players. So, if you've got a keen eye for a player and you want to buy them low, you'll make some cash, as you can see on the screen as well. So if you want to get involved in that, a link to that to join is in the top of the description or with the QR code that is on the screen. But Emmanuel Agbadou, it's great to finally have a centre-back in, and it'll be interesting to see if he does get thrown in for the FA Cup game away at Bristol City on Friday. But some quick details on the move. If I shift over to my screen here, we'll move across to the Twitter, and this is the first piece of news that we saw about Wolves potentially signing Emmanuel Agbadou, and it was a week ago today. It was last Thursday, the 2nd of January, and it was L'Equipe that had reported that Wolves were interested in the Stade de Reims centre-back, 27 years of age. Now, they were reluctant to let him go, and as the French outlet had reported here, they said a bid of around 20 million euros was going to be needed to consider his sale, and that's pretty much bang on what we've seen. Wolves have had the deal agreed at 18 million euros plus 2 million euros in add-ons, so altogether it does add up to that 20. A little side note on that article as well, that Wolves maybe we're looking at Kuzanov, who's now looking at much higher things in regards to Manchester City. I've seen the likes of Real Madrid linked with him as well, which we've spoken about on different videos as well. But Agbadou, crucial to have his experience really at the club. He has been captain at the French club as well over the last season or so. And a player that's sort of come into football quite late, to be fair. I mean, I wasn't going to go on his Wikipedia as such, but I mean, it's probably the easiest to see here, just at the bottom of the screen there. Played for San Pedro over in Ivory Coast for a while, and then moved over to Monastir over in Tunisia before moving across to Europe just 4 or 5 years ago. So he would have been into his early 20s already. And to be fair, like a lot of players that sort of make their way into the French league, they do have a sort of back in maybe like a slightly smaller side anyway, or maybe not such a notable football league. But Agbadou has done sort of the route that a lot of players from the African leagues tend to, or from Africa tend to do, but maybe just a slight bit later than normal, really. But predominantly as a defensive midfielder through the early stages of his career. It wasn't really until he got to Europe where he started playing as a centre-back a little bit more, which makes sense that, he's 6'4", he's got the frame to be a centre-back, and obviously he's done well in France and during his short time in Europe, really. Obviously been in Ligue 1 for just under 3 years now, played 75 games in Ligue 1 for Rennes, but obviously became captain there as well. One of the interesting things, and I'll flag it up here if I can find it. So Get French Football News is probably one of the big sort of aggregators and websites in English that obviously collects French football news. I sometimes pick stories up of it as well. And they do a list every year, which was released just a week ago, of Ligue 1's best players of 2024. Now, this is, in their opinion, the 100 best players from the year 2024 playing in the top French divisions. Interestingly enough, Agbadou was not included at all in this top 100 players. Now, I had a quick look through the list. There's some unbelievable talents on there. Players even down towards the bottom of the list where you think, wow, they're walking to a lot of good teams. So I just hope it's a case that Agbadou is being maybe underappreciated as a player rather than being sort of, no, he's not good enough, he shouldn't be on this list. So, as centre-backs, if they do the work properly, if they tend to do the tidy work, they maybe don't get spoken about enough, to be completely honest. If he starts to get goals and assists a lot more, which you don't really see much from defenders, obviously that's when you'll get spoken about a little bit more. So I certainly just hope it's a case that maybe he's just been underappreciated as a player. At the age of if we go back to his Wikipedia, at the age of 27, of course, he is sort of towards that peak or prime now, really. Where some fans will say, I'm not too sure. Obviously, he signed a 4.5-year deal. Wolves holding the option of an additional year, so it could be 5.5 years, which will take him well into, look, he's sort of 32. He's early 30s, probably just past his prime, really. I certainly hope he could be a top Wolves player throughout that contract and even further on. Obviously, that would be great. But Wolves have had to bring in experience and leadership, which is what Agbadou has got. And it speaks good English, obviously, as well, which is a massive bonus. But Wolves have had to do that because they can't risk bringing in a younger player for too much more, because in the current stage of where we are in the Premier League, we need experience and we need quality, and that is certainly what Agbadou seems to have. If we quickly go into FB Ref now, again, I think about a week ago I flagged this up on the channel. If you're unsure what FB Ref is, it basically compares players to, well, depending on which league they're in, because Agbadou plays in Ligue 1 in France, this will compare him to other players in the top 5 leagues of Europe, and then it also includes players in their performances in the Champions League and the Europa League as well. Now, this is over the last year, so it does include the second half of last season, and you can see basically the greener the bar, the much better that Agbadou is at said action compared to other players. So top end is sort of your attacking stats, which is obviously nice to look at, especially when it's green, but not really essential for Wolves, to be honest. The yellow cards and the red cards being high is fairly good, means that obviously he's not getting cautioned or sent off too often. Goals, and of course, is good. Progressive carries and progressive passes is good, especially if Wolves want to sort of get on the ball, is very good. Towards the passing stats, it's good, really, in terms of the key passes, the passes into the final third, passes attempted and completed, long passes towards the top end of defenders in those top European leagues as well. And yeah, I mean, you can look through these yourself, really. There's a lot of green on there, which is good, and anything really that's sort of, I mean, there's not a lot lower, really. Successful take-ons, which you wouldn't be too concerned about. It's decent viewing for Wolves fans, really, I would say, for Emmanuel Agbadou. Now, if we flick over to the Wolves website, which, of course, we saw the announcement around 10 a.m. this morning. Some great videos, some great pictures, as well as a clip of Emmanuel Agbadou and Vitor Pereira at the side of Molineux, and it was quite a good video to watch. Matt Hobbs has obviously had his say as well. Emmanuel's a winner. He's driven, still unbelievably hungry. Type of player Wolves fans should love. On paper, he should suit the Premier League. Plenty of ticks there. Obviously, you've got the settling in period, which I think is quite important to make. I mean, at this stage of the season, when you're in the battle Wolves are in, you probably don't really want players to be having that settling in period. But certainly, as long as he does his job and keeps us in the Premier League, I think from next season onwards, that's when you'll start to see the best of Emmanuel Agbadou and other players that may well come in from abroad this month as well. The fact that he was on ours and Vitor's list show that he's well-rounded, good on the ball, physically excellent, quick, and a good personality. Then being made captain of Reims has really taken to his game to the next level. And I think that's important for Wolves as well. We've not really had enough leaders in this squad. Of course, Craig Dawson can be one of those, or so we think, but not really sort of in and out of the squad. And Wolves have lost a lot of those key figures over the last few years. Sometimes maybe too many at a certain time, and obviously Mario Lemina's not quite worked out how we would have wanted to, but interested, and obviously his last points there as well in regards to bringing them in. When Vitor came in, it's the first conversation we had to add one quick. There are so many games in January, so you can't afford to waste a month. We have to use this month to be as efficient as possible, and we're really excited about this signing. So I am intrigued and interested by this, because he trained today, apparently, and hopefully, like I said, he might be in the squad for Saturday's game as well. But it will be interesting now to see if Wolves do go and bring another centre-back in, because there have been other reports and rumours that Wolves are looking to add another player in. You would assume that when Wolves are spending close to 20 million euros on a player, that he's going to be a solid first-team starter, and we certainly hope that we can see him against Bristol City. Ease him in slightly, not to say that Saturday is going to be a straightforward game, because Bristol City are doing quite well, but ease him in slightly and see what he's made of. But Emmanuel Agbadou looks the part, big physical centre-back, probably what we've been missing a little bit. And I was reading some stuff earlier. You know, he was playing alongside other defenders where he had to make up a lot of ground for them because of their lack of pace. So he's certainly, you know, able to. He's got that yard of pace to be able to get around a little bit as well. But Emmanuel Agbadou to Wolves. Confirmed, first signing, hopefully the first of a few this window for Wolves. I'll be keeping you guys up to date with all the transfer news and rumours, so be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a single video. We'll be back with more content over the next few days as well. Until then though guys, enjoy the rest of your day and catch you on the next one.